This is the juiciest steak I've ever had. Today we are going to be cooking a cut of beef called picanha, or also known as the sirloin cap. Now we're doing it in the full roast version, but you could also cook this in steaks. It's a super popular cut of beef in Brazil. It's their number one choice when it comes to beef, and it's a fantastic steak. We're going to start off by scoring the fat cap on the top because we're reverse searing it, which will render down most of this fat. It's a great way to flavor the steak as well because all the seasoning will get stuck deep in the crevices. We're going to start by adding olive oil to it. This is our binder. Rub it down, make sure you get your entire meat coated in the olive oil, both sides and all the edges. Once you're done with that, we are going to start with our seasoning. We're using coarse kosher salt today, as well as black pepper, garlic powder, and paprika. We're keeping the seasoning pretty simple because we're also making a chimichurri sauce to go with it. If you guys don't know what chimichurri is, it's actually an Argentine dish. It consists of parsley and other herbs mixed with garlic and olive oil. I'll show you my go-to recipe soon. Now make sure that you coat all the edges with your seasoning, the back, the front, the fat cap, and all the sides, and we're going to actually pat them down just to get that seasoning embedded in the meat. You don't want to rub any of these seasonings in because you're just going to wipe it right off the meat. Once your meat is nice and seasoned, we're going to place it on a baking sheet because, like I said earlier, we are reverse searing this. If you don't know what reverse searing is, it's actually the process of cooking a steak in the oven first and then searing it on a cast iron pan or grill to finish it off. This ensures that the interior of the meat is perfectly cooked while still retaining a perfect crust on the exterior. We're placing it fat side up in the oven at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. While that's cooking, we're going to start on our chimichurri. We're going to start off by peeling and mincing a few cloves of garlic. This is my favorite task in the kitchen. As you can tell, it's not monotonous at all. All joking aside, you can use a food processor if it makes it quicker. After you're done with your garlic, you're ready to finely mince up some serrano pepper. Now this is optional. You don't have to put chili peppers in your chimichurri, but I prefer to. It just gives it a little extra kick. So once you've diced that up, we are going to place it in a bowl with our garlic, and then we are going to move on to our herbs. Today we're using parsley and oregano. Make sure you guys use fresh herbs here. And if you don't know the best way to cut parsley, that is to roll it up in a cigar and slice it very, very fine. You should not be able to pick out one single piece of parsley. So again, a super monotonous task that can be done in a food processor. Unfortunately, I do not have one on hand, so we've got to do it the old-fashioned way. Once you're done with the parsley, place it in with your other mixture, and we are going to move on to our oregano. Now, I understand that not everybody can get fresh oregano like I did, but try your best. If you can't use fresh, use dry oregano. Just make sure the parsley is fresh. Once you're done chopping up your oregano, you can add that to your other herbs and garlic mixture, and then you're ready to add in your olive oil. Now make sure you're always using extra virgin olive oil. It has the most robust flavor and it beats out the competition tenfold. It's way better than canola, it's way better than light olive oil, sunflower oil, any of that kind of stuff. Give that a quick mix and then we are going to add in 1 shallot. I almost forgot. I like to add shallots into my chimichurri, at least just half or a quarter of one to give it a little bit extra kick. But you do not have to do it. It is optional and it is not necessarily traditional either. Just make sure if you're adding it in to get it nice and fine and don't add too much. You don't want it to overpower the chimichurri. Once you are done mincing up your shallot, you can add that to your mixture. Give it a quick mix and then we're going to finish up our chimichurri. Our finishing touches are going to be red wine vinegar just to add a bit of acidity, a little bit of lime juice. I just used half a lime, a little bit of kosher salt. Don't overdo it because the vinegar already makes it a bit salty, and a touch of paprika. Give that one final mix and set it in the fridge to chill. By the time you're done with your chimichurri, the meat should be pretty close to being done in the oven. I like to pull it at around 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I transfer it onto a piping hot grill. Make sure to get that fat cap seared first. You want to get some nice color on there. I would say that you cook this about 2 to 3 minutes per side, but it really just depends on what temp you pulled it out of the oven at. For medium rare, I like to get it to right around 130 to 135 internal. It'll raise up to about 140 once you've let it rest. Now that brings me to my next point. Make sure you let this rest for about 20 to 25 minutes before slicing into it. This steak came out perfect, and if anybody's going to argue that this is a raw steak, you can come at me in the comments. Best it's raw comment wins, but this is perfect in my book. Juicy, tender, flavorful. It got some beautiful color from throwing it on the grill, and it's a wall-to-wall medium rare. Just look at that perfect pink color. It was pulled at about 140 degrees Fahrenheit at the end of the day, and the reverse sear method made it incredibly tender. Don't forget to put some of your chimichurri on there as well. It really heightens the flavor, and that recipe goes well with fish, shrimp, chicken, pork, and of course steak as well. You guys have to put it on all of your meats. It's fantastic. But that's enough talking. Let's taste it. Let's try some. So good. As usual, it's delicious. Picanha is one of my favorite steaks to cook. You guys have to try this out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.